We didn't talk about fragmented wildlands and how that also fits into the picture. It's a pretty key thing too.
Very much so. In some respects, gray wolves are a very effective lens for examining how fragmented habitats have become. What is the distance and security as you cross from one secure spot to another secure spot? Because the habitat in between can sometimes be pretty inhospitable. And I say gray wolves may be a pretty good lens for examining this notion of connectivity. How well connected are these sort of beachheads of security? Because they do have great capacity to travel tremendous distances, and that capacity then can tell us something about the health of, the integrity of, the sufficiency of the intervening habitat between one beachhead of security and another beachhead. And so imagine Yellowstone National Park as a beachhead of security for gray wolves, where for lots of reasons everybody agrees that in Yellowstone National Park gray wolves should receive priority consideration, that their presence forever is appropriate. And then another beachhead of security could be Glacier National Park, where gray wolves, like in Yellowstone, receive priority consideration, and we all agree that they should be there forever. Well, there's a whole bunch of country between Glacier and Yellowstone. And because the two parks are relatively small, one can make the case from a very scholarly genetics perspective that absent some new blood on occasion, the Yellowstone population would never be big enough to remain genetically healthy over a lengthy period of time. It would have to have some new blood on occasion, and the same could be said of Glacier. There's a need for some new animals on occasion to infuse some genetic fitness into your Glacier National Park population. Okay, and let's assume that you're not going to put gray wolves there on purpose to ensure the genetic health. You're not going to affect a reintroduction simply to augment the genes of the Yellowstone population, or to augment the genes of the Glacier population. So they've got to do it on their own. Can they walk from Glacier Park to Yellowstone Park? Can they make it? Can they not get shot? Can they find some food along the way? Can they not get run over by a vehicle on the way? Can they make that journey? And right now in the northern Rocky Mountains, I think they can make the journey. The habitat between these beachheads of security, between these refugia, if you will, is sufficiently intact, with a few enough people and folks that are willing to let them be, that they can make the journey. I think that's the case in the Great Lakes states. They can move from Minnesota, Wisconsin to Michigan, Michigan to Minnesota. They can move around, and that's good. I'm not so convinced that the habitat in the Southwest is sufficiently connected, because there's lots of people in the Southwest, and the Southwest is very different country in large part because of the rainfall it gets. They get in the Southwest these great big desert basins that are a pretty tough place for a gray wolf to make a living. So as he's walking from one spot of security to another spot of security, he's got to cross this great big desert basin. Lots of roads he's got to cross, lots of people he's got to walk past, not a whole lot of food in his belly. That's a pretty tough journey. So they do give us a chance to look at connectivity, and we can say if the habitats where they're really secure aren't sufficiently connected, we've got to fix that. And we can fix it through some regulations that would say to people, don't shoot them, because you're just walking through. And that would be part of the state's responsibility to put in place a management plan that said to their residents of New Mexico, it's against the law to shoot a gray wolf for no good reason. And the Fish and Wildlife Service looks for those types of regulations so that they have some assurance that when we're getting ready to delist, that the states are going to manage the species in a manner that doesn't push them back in the direction of being endangered or threatened, so they have to be relisted again. With some species, Tom, that we've talked about already, the black-footed ferret, for example, the prairie dog habitat is so fragmented that it's just very difficult for a black-footed ferret to move from one prairie dog complex to another, because it might mean going from South Dakota to Kansas. Well, that ain't going to happen. They got little bitty legs in the first place, so they don't walk very fast. They don't run very fast. And it's a heck of a long journey when you're just a little bitty guy and you got to go from South Dakota to Kansas. And so some other species, given the burden that they have to bear, the landscapes are pretty fragmented, and I don't see that change.